The other thing that we would add to this, the president yesterday pushing more taxes on the rich to expand Social Security, insolvent, as the graphic tells you, by the year 2035. So as we go back to our famous panel here, Melissa, Joe, and Ron, who are still with us, I'll go to you, Melissa, on this first. Expand Social Security? I thought we were supposed to get this in line and check.
Not only that, I mean, I would add one more data point to what Blake said. You know, it's his own Federal Reserve that says that this has been the worst recovery in history on record. I mean, that's quantitative. That's data. That's not an opinion. They're looking at the actual recovery in terms of growth of the economy, and this has been the slowest, the worst, the most abysmal ever. That's the Federal Reserve, not Fox News.
Don't you think that's fair, Joe? I mean, that's a fair, I mean, as Melissa said, why not?
Compared to what?
Why is that funny? Compared to every other recovery in history.
Wait,
every other recovery in the history of the planet.
Prior to the Great Recession,
prior
to the Great Recession, we hadn't seen anything like that since the Great Depression. So I don't know where this can be the worst one ever. People were losing houses. They were losing jobs. We have had steady job growth.
Go look at the data from the Federal Reserve. It makes me
the Federal Reserve
mad
puts out many
when people
forecasts.
get out here and try and push these points because you're just not bothering to look at the actual data.
Would you let me talk? Would you just let me talk for 5 seconds?
Go ahead now,
because in 2008, your house was probably underwater, you were at threat of losing your job, and your 401k had been decimated.
Yeah, it's amazing the economy hasn't bounced back from that.
Now, you can find a job. Unemployment is low. We have rising incomes. We have rising incomes. And the stock market, which we all watch here on this channel, is actually doing better than it was.
Did you watch
when we talk about, are you going to let me talk?
Well, the stock market has come back. There's no doubt.
Thank you. Unemployment is down.
Fine. I think people can reach this point. Hold on a second, Melissa. The point, Joe, I get Ron involved in this too. Oh, Ron, you can make a point now, and then we'll go back to Joe on it. But the point I think that Melissa's making is the pace, right? I mean, if you fall as hard as we fell, you should come back even, in some people's estimations, you should come back just as fast, if not faster, because you've fallen so hard. I mean, that's what we've seen sometimes in the past, right? That's what history shows.
I'm just looking at GDP growth. I mean, it's very straightforward.
Right. Go ahead, Ron, what's your thought on this? I don't know if you're going to break a tie or not.
Well, I'm going to try. You know, I don't know why Joe's laughing. I mean, if you look, you have nearly 95 million people who are out of work right now who want a job. Unemployment might be at 5%, but we know that's a joke. You're talking about part-time jobs, not full-time employment. This economy is bad. Melissa's exactly right. You need to do the facts, Joe. The fact of the matter is it's not Fox News, it's not me, it's the Federal Reserve who says this is the weakest recovery we've seen on record. Real Americans are really struggling, and Obama to go out and to take a victory lap for 5% and saying how great things are really shows how out of touch this administration is with the American people.
Yeah, to be fair, Joe, isn't it just, I mean, it's okay, right? I mean, if you want to say to that, yeah, we've come back, yeah, it's better than it was because it was awful. That's a different argument than to say it's the best and things are really back on track. I mean, if that was the argument he was making, you might give it to him. But, I mean, there are some fair points here, I know, as you were chuckling through it.
No. I'm laughing at some of these statistics because when we talk about workforce participation rates, the problem is that 4 years ago, when the economy was still in recovery, and let's go back 8 years, people couldn't retire. Now, the baby boomer generation is at retirement age. They couldn't retire then. The reason why workforce participation is dropping is because one of the largest generations in this country is safely retiring now. And when they do that, they pull out of the workforce, which means unemployment.
What we're talking about here.
They're the largest, next to millennials, they're the largest workforce in this country.
There are more people that would like to retire but can't because they don't have any savings left. Yes, the boomers
because it was decimated in
They would like to retire, but they can't.
Right, but and if the recovery was stronger, that's the whole point. If the recovery was stronger, then they would be in a better position.
The recovery strength is relative to what we've seen in the past, and nothing has been like this, this bad. And here's the other thing we can all feel a little bit better in. We're not creating another bubble, because every time when we had recoveries that were fast, we created bubbles and then they popped. Look at the housing bubble that started back when we had the recession after 9/11.
Well, some people think, by the way, I talked to Bob Schiller about it the other day, that there are bubbles in parts of housing again. So that is
exactly.
Again, now we'll wrap it up on that, Melissa.
That's a big one.
You do not want to grow too quickly in some areas, I guess is Joe's point, that you create the bubbles. What do you say to that? Final word.
Absolutely. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who think we've created a bubble in equities with the Fed's loose policy to try and get the economy back on track.
No, that's true, and that kind of shoots down the point about the stock market being at 17, almost 18,000. We could go all day. Thanks to all three of you. We appreciate it, Melissa, Ron, and Joe.